Hey, grab your Bibles. We're continuing in our series, ExtraOrdinary. We'll probably wrap this up maybe next week or so. We're coming to the end of the series. But we've been talking about people in the Bible that you don't hear a whole lot about. But yet God used them, and we can learn from them. And today is interesting because we're gonna talk about someone, and I think it's really going to encourage you. Because this someone would be someone that we would say probably God wouldn't use, but he did. And instead of me telling you, we're just going to read about her. It's another hero, or she-ro, is what some people would say. And we can learn from her. So grab your Bibles, go to Joshua chapter 2. We're going to read about Rahab. Some of y'all are already thinking, wait a minute. Rahab, is that? Yes, it is. And we're going to read about her. Joshua secretly sent out 2 spies from the Israelite camp at Acacia Grove. He instructed them, scout out the land and the other side of the Jordan River, especially around Jericho. So the 2 men set out and came to the house of a prostitute named Rahab and stayed there that night. But someone told the king of Jericho, some Israelites have come here tonight to spy out the land. So the king of Jericho sent orders to Rahab, bring out the men who have come into your house, for they have come here to spy out the whole land. Rahab had hidden the 2 men, but she replied, yes, the men were here earlier, but I didn't know where they were from. They left the town at dusk as the gates were about to close. I don't know where they went. If you hurry, you can probably catch up with them. Actually, she had taken them up to the roof and hidden them beneath bundles of flax she had laid out. So the king's men were looking for the spies along the road leading to the shallow crossings of the Jordan River. As soon as the king's men had left, the gate of Jericho was shut. Before the spies went to sleep that night, Rahab went up on the roof to talk with them. She said, now listen to what she says. I know the Lord has given you this land, she told them. We are all afraid of you. Everyone in this land is living in terror. For we have heard how the Lord made a dry path for you through the Red Sea when you left Egypt. And we know what you did to Sihon and Og, the 2 Amorite kings east of the Jordan River, whose people you completely destroyed. No wonder our hearts have melted in fear. No one has the courage to fight after hearing such things. And then she says this, for the Lord your God is the supreme God of heavens above and earth below. Now swear to me by the Lord that you will be kind to me and my family since I have helped you. Give me some guarantee that when Jericho is conquered, that you will let me live along with my father and mother, my brothers and sisters and their families. We offer our own lives as a guarantee for your safety, the men agreed. If you don't betray us, we will keep our promise and be kind to you when the Lord gives us the land. Then, since Rahab's house was built into the town wall, she let them down by a rope through the window. Escape to the hill country, she told them. Hide there for 3 days from the men searching for you. Then, when they have returned, you can go your way. Before they left, the men told her, we will be bound by an oath when we have taken, only if we follow these instructions. When we come into the land, you must leave the scarlet rope hanging from the window, which you let us down. And all your family members, your father, mother, brothers, and all your relatives must be here inside the house. If they go out into the street and are killed, it will not be our fault. But if anyone lays a hand on people inside this house, we will accept the responsibility for their death. If you betray us, however, we are not bound by this oath in any way. I accept your terms, she replied, and she sent them on their way, leaving the scarlet rope hanging from the window. The spies went up into the hill country, stayed there for 3 days. The men who were chasing them searched everywhere along the road, but finally returned without success. Then the 2 spies came down from the hill country, crossed the Jordan River, and reported to Joshua all that had happened to them. The Lord has given us the whole land, they said, for all the people in the land are terrified of us. So, we're going to read this passage. We just read this passage. We're going to talk about this passage. And we're going to talk about the life of Rahab. And I just have a few points that we're going to kind of help us to figure out what can we learn and what do we learn from this story. So obviously, growing up, I remember hearing this story. And anytime you hear about Rahab, and even when you read about her, it says, it always has this tag with it, the prostitute, depending on the translations. Some say the harlot. I mean, they pretty much put this label with her. Now, so let's just start there. Rahab didn't have it all together. She was in sin. She didn't do everything right. How many of you would say, Pastor, just so you know, this last month I've done everything right? Would you raise your hand? And you could come up and take over from this from this person who has faults. We all do. But there's something in us that we don't see out the window the same way we see in the mirror. When we look at ourselves, we see the positive, we see our hearts, we know what we're trying to do, and we don't judge ourselves as much sometimes. But then we look out the window and we see other people and sin that they have or things that they're doing that's not right or struggles that they have, and we're quick to judge. And I'll get there, but I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, Rahab and her family were spared from destruction that all the other unbelievers were not. Rahab's life was changed. Completely changed. But as I was reading this passage, there were certain things I was like, man, what is up with that? Like even when we first read and the two spies go in the land and they go straight to the prostitute's house. Like, what are you doing? Flee all appearance of evil, buddies. Like, you want to, but here's the thing. They're going in. It says when we read that they were secretly spying. That's what they were supposed to do. So this was a place that people were coming in, traffic was going in and out. There wasn't a whole lot of oversight of everybody that comes in and out. They were used to having people come in and out of there. And they go there, and something happens with Rahab. Well, word gets to the king that these spies are searching out the land because they're going to conquer it. And word gets out, and the king comes to Rahab. The king's men come and said, hey, bring out those men. Now, Rahab's in a situation now. What do I do? Because she's got a decision to make. So the first thing that we talked about so far, and then we're going to pick up right here, is that Rahab, she was a sinner, and she did not have everything together. And I just want to tell you, you don't have it all together either, and God can still use you. 100%. You don't have to be perfect for God to use. And God chose to use Rahab in this situation. Now, Rahab, all right, so that's the first thing. The second thing, Rahab was now faced with a choice. Here's her choice. Do I go against God's people, the Israelites, and the God of Israel, and turn them in, and they'll be killed? Or do I go against my people, my culture, the world I live in? Listen, it's the same choice we face today. You face that decision every day. God or culture? God or the world? God or what I was raised in? You have that choice every day. Rahab has this choice. And for some reason, this is like treason what she's doing here. Like, this is not good for her if she gets caught. And instead of turning them in, she says, they were here, I don't know where they were from, and they left knowing that she hid them. Now, people come to me all the time, well, Pastor, she lied. That is a sin. Okay. What do? You have to follow the leading of the Holy Spirit in your life, because you either sin by turning in God's people and have them killed, or you lie and save them. I'm not justifying lying. I'm just saying she was in a predicament. And her life was on the line. And she chose to protect. And here's what she did. She had two directions she could go. Allegiance to Israel and to the God of Israel, or allegiance to her culture and to her world that she grew up in. And you know what she decided? I'm going to side with God. I'm going to side with these two spies that came in from Israel. I'm going to align myself with the people of Israel. She wasn't an Israelite. She wasn't a Jew. She was a Gentile. This wasn't an easy thing. But she made that decision. I want to just encourage you. You're faced with that decision every day. Deuteronomy 30, Joshua 25, both those passages, or 24, they both say something to the lines of choose who you're going to serve. I said before you life and death, blessing and cursing, you choose. Joshua says, if you're not going to choose this, if you're not going to serve this God, you got to choose the God you're going to serve. In other words, at some point, it's your choice. And it tells us in the word too that in 1 Thessalonians 2:4 that we need to please God, not man. That's what we should be doing. So if God is saying this, but it's going to cost us because we're not pleasing these men, this people, this culture, we got to trust that God's going to take care of us. Because Rahab went against everything that was normal for her, not only in her lifestyle, but in the heritage she had. But she made a choice to move towards God. Can I just tell you, sometimes when I say that, I just think, be easy on yourself. You don't always have to live it perfect, but move towards God. You'll never get to God in the sense of your performance being perfect, but you're moving that direction. I say this a lot, but direction is far more important than speed. We try so hard to get to where we want to be and get there so fast and make sure we get everything right, dot our I's and cross the T's, and we got to make sure we live this thing right. We put all this pressure on us. But here's the thing, before you can go 1 mile, you got to go 1 step. You got to start somewhere and just start the journey. And along the journey, you'll grow and you'll develop and you'll learn. But it starts with you having to make the choice. I have the world calling for my attention, and I have God calling for my attention. And where is my allegiance? Where do I put my foot down and say, this is who I serve? At the end of the day, am I going to please the people around me, or am I going to please God? Because if you please God, you'll please the right people. We have that choice. Rahab had that choice. We have that choice today. Who are we going to serve? And Rahab, that's her decision that she makes. And you can read that in verses 2 through 7. Here's the third thing. Rahab's choice came from somewhere. It wasn't just Rahab wasn't like, okay, do I turn him in or do I not? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. It wasn't a guess. It wasn't I don't know, phone a friend, see what I got to do. It wasn't that. You know what it came from? It came from something that had started in her before. Because if you go to verse 8, and I'll read it to you here. It says, before the spies went to sleep that night, Rahab went up to the roof to talk with them. And listen to what she says. I know that the Lord, Yahweh, God, that he has given you this land. We're all afraid of you. In other words, your God is powerful. We can't win against you. Everyone in this land is living in terror because we know. Now she's talking about everybody. But she's the one making the decision. But culture, we all know. We're all scared. We're all this, but she made a decision for her. She said, we heard how the Lord made a dry path through the Red Sea when you left Egypt. See that story when they got to the Red Sea and the Lord had promised them victory, and they're at the Red Sea and they're looking back and the armies are following, their armies are coming. And I could imagine before they knew exactly what they were going to do, I could imagine a little bit of like, I didn't bring my floaties. Like, how we we're done. And the Lord told Moses, strike the Red Sea. And he did. Listen, put yourself in the story. I tell you this all the time. Get out of like this being just a story you heard as a kid or just recently, however, whenever you heard it for the first time, if you have. But put yourself there. The Red Sea parts. That alone is a miracle. Dry ground is another miracle. And they hear about that. Rahab, she talks about it. She said, we heard about that. That doesn't happen. How does that happen? What happens because we serve a miraculous, miracle-working God who can do anything. And whatever's in front of you that you think is blocking you, let me just tell you, God can just part that wide open and you walk right through it. Because that's the God we serve. And Rahab is getting it. She says, we know, we've heard about that. And we know what you did to Sihon and Og and the two Amorite kings east of the Jordan River who people you completely destroyed. Then it says, no wonder our hearts have melted in fear. No one has the courage to fight after hearing such things. So here's what it's saying. After hearing all this, there's no way we would go against you. Knowing what God can do, why would we try? Why would we come against you? God can part the stinking sea and make the ground dry for you to go through and then it swallows up the enemy? No. We don't stand a chance. And that's when she makes this statement. For the Lord your God is the supreme God of the heavens above and the earth below. Rahab looks to these two people and says, you know what? We know it, and I know it. Your God is for real. At that point, she didn't say, my God. She said, your God, because she's starting to see and hear about God. She's starting to know that he's given them victory, and he's done this, and he's done this. And this is how she's able to make the choice she made earlier, because she's aware that this God is real. Even though that came at the end of the story, she already knew it. She went up and talked to them. She couldn't tell them before because the king's people showed up. So she said, hide, but I'm going to talk to you in a minute. I got some stuff to tell you, but I'm going to hide you right now. The choice didn't come, and then she thought, well, guess what? Now I got this revelation. She had the revelation, which gave her the confidence to make this decision to say, I'm hiding them. Their God is for real. I am not going to be on the other side. I am not going to serve over here where we don't have that. Their God's a supreme God, and I'm going to side with him. I'm coming to his side. This prostitute, I'm coming to his side. Just a decision. Based on the knowledge that she was learning and what she was seeing and what she was hearing, she thought, this God is for real. Let me ask you this question. You know what my desire is? That people would see you and me, and they would say, I know that your God is the supreme God. The God of heaven above and earth below. Because they see how we navigate our life and how God uses us and does things in us and does things through us. And that we live it out there beyond these four walls. And they say, that's the supreme God. Because nothing else could make that happen. That's supernatural. And that's what Rahab had, this knowledge and understanding and this faith that led to those decisions. Listen, you are not saved by works. You are saved by grace through faith. But I'm going to tell you, once you get saved, your faith should produce works. So even though we're not a works church, we are a works church with you have faith. It doesn't get you saved. You're saved by grace through faith. But once you get saved, there should be some stuff on the outside that changes. You can't talk the same if you have faith. You can't act the same if you have faith. You can't treat people like dirt if you have faith. It's got to change. Now, it's a process, just like everything. Move that way. It's not going to be perfect in it. But there should be change. James 2, verse 25 and 26. Look at this. James talks about this. And here's the example he uses. Rahab. And listen, Rahab the prostitute. You would think if I'm Rahab, I'm like, yo, can you cut the title? Can you just call me Rahab? Can you just say Rahab? Everybody knows already. Can you just ease up with the prostitute part? But here's what James says. Rahab the prostitute is another example. She was shown to be right with God. Some people say, yeah, but she was just being nice. No, she was right with God. The prostitute became right with God by what she understood about him, what she saw, and then who she chose to align with. And she became right with God by her actions. See, there was something of her faith that led to this decision. So her actions, when she hid those messengers and sent them safely away by a different road. Just as the body is dead without breath, so also faith is dead without works. There's got to be something in your life that exemplifies what you believe. Well, let me say it this way. There is something in your life that exemplifies what you believe, whether it be good or bad. If the Lord asks you to do something and you don't do it, that says you don't fully trust him. You're going to show it some way. But you're going to make decisions based on what you believe. If I tell you there is a crazy, huge lion outside of this door that escaped from the zoo's already eaten 12 people, is that going to affect whether you go out this door? Yeah, because once you know something, your decision's based on what you know. And if you believe you're in danger, you're not going to do something. But if I say, oh, they caught him. They got him. He's back at the zoo. Then that decision, now because you believe he's gone and you know he's gone, now you go do it. It's the same way with life. If you believe God is true and God is good and that he's just and that he's right and that he can help you, it doesn't mean you never have challenges. It doesn't mean you never have questions. It just means overall there's something inside of you that knows God is good. I had a discussion with someone recently and they were going through a lot. And they were just, man, I'm not seeing this and I'm not seeing this. And I finally just said, I just want to help you that God understands that. And you can take all your requests to him and you can complain to him and you can bring it out and say, God, this is what I'm feeling. And you can be honest and real and vulnerable with God. But I'm just going to tell you, do we serve God because he's good or do we serve God because we want this? And if we serve God because he's good and we believe that, then we navigate these journeys with a belief that God is still good. Although I don't see cattle in the stalls, though I don't see fruit on the vine, though I don't see all this stuff working to my benefit and my favor right now, I know God is still good. Therefore, I stay on this path of being faithful, and I continue to be faithful, and I continue to be faithful, and I continue to be faithful until the one day when I'm fruitful because of my faithfulness. And that's how we need to be. So your actions will show what you believe. And they did for Rahab. So she made that decision to let her works demonstrate what she believes. The next thing, Rahab was confident in God, that God allowed her, and let's see, I can't read my own writing. Oh yeah, Rahab's confidence in God allowed her to ask God for what she wanted and what she needed. Listen, when you begin to understand not only who God is, but how he feels about you, because Rahab went straight from this decision to align herself with God. She had already made that decision, and then she said, will you save my family? I'm summarizing it all, but basically said, will you save my family? If I do this for you, will you save my family? Now, that's different than what some people do. Some people say, I want to see God do this, and then I'll serve him. Rahab didn't do that. Rahab said, I'm aligning with you, and now that I'm here, will you have my family? Will you show mercy to my family? Will you show grace to my family? Father and mother, brothers and sisters, and their families? And guess what? They did. Listen, you need to be confident to know God loves you and he cares for you. And if you have sided with the Lord and you are his children, don't be afraid to ask him for stuff. Don't be afraid to tell him you need his help. Listen, my kids are older, but they're not afraid to ask. They weren't when they were little. Man, we just spent all day at IKEA yesterday. You know how many boxes we got? Do you know how many pieces that is? My son, Chase, has got a job. He's graduating college in 2 weeks, and he's moving to Columbia, South Carolina. He's got an apartment, and we're shopping. We're going around IKEA, me and Patty and Chase, and we're just like writing numbers. Okay, we need that. He's got nothing. And now he's got boxes and boxes. We can't even park in the garage right now. Patty can. Her Jeep has to stay. But Meg, she's out. I've been out. But here's the thing. When we're there, Chase and I have a problem saying, hey, do you think I could? Well, he's asking because this is his first time moving out on his own. So when he has questions, what do I need? You don't think about everything. He's thinking couch, bed, and all this. And I'm like, hey, man, if you spill something on the floor, you got a carpet cleaner? Oh, man, I need a carpet cleaner. You got paper towels? You got kitchen towels? Like, you have no idea. The list goes on and on. We spent yesterday trying to cross a lot of that stuff off the list. But he wasn't afraid to ask, what do you think about this? Do I need this? That's how we should be with God. God, will you help me with this? God is compassionate, slow to anger. He's merciful. He's kind. He's giving. He provides. Don't be afraid to go to him. God is not some way up here that you can't talk to. He gave Jesus and tore that veil. There's no separation between you and the presence of God ever. He says, come boldly. You'll find the grace and mercy you need. That's how we should live. That's good preaching. I don't care what he should say. All right. And then here's the cool thing. Here's what Rahab saw. This will encourage you. Rahab saw the promise fulfilled. They said they would save her with that scarlet thread that she hangs down, that scarlet rope, which is symbolic. Obviously, we've been saved by the blood of Jesus, right? We were lost. Jesus came to us. We decided to serve him. We said yes to what Jesus already did. And that scarlet letter, that scarlet rope that came down said to them, these people are safe. The blood of Jesus says to us, we're safe. So this scarlet rope is hanging down. And in Joshua chapter 6, I'm going to read it to you. I think this is the coolest thing ever. When the people heard the sound of the ram's horn, they shouted as loud as they could. Suddenly the walls of Jericho collapsed. Remember we read earlier, she lived in the wall. The wall's like 12 feet thick or something. And she lived within, her place was inside the wall of Jericho. The walls collapsed. Could you imagine? She's watching these people march around for 6 days. But she's got that promise. She's got that rope that says, I'm covered. So here's what happens. It comes down. The wall just crashes and collapses. The Israelites charged straight into the town and captured it. They completely destroyed everything: swords, men, women, young, old, cattle, sheep, goats, donkeys. Meanwhile, Joshua said to the spies, keep your promise. Go to the prostitute's house. Doesn't even call her Rahab. Can you believe it? Go to the prostitute's house and bring her out along with her family. And the men who had been spies went in and brought out Rahab, her father, mother, brothers, other relatives who were with her. They moved her whole family to a safe place near the camp of Israel. Then the Israelites burned the town, everything in it. Only things made of silver, gold, bronze, or iron were kept from the treasury for the Lord's house. Joshua spared Rahab the prostitute. Here it is again. Keep calling her that. And her relatives who were with her in the house, because she was hidden the spies Joshua sent to Jericho, and she is living among the Israelites today. Here's the thing. Even though she wasn't part of Israel, let me tell you something. She's living there today. Her idea, her heritage, who she is and what she was about is still alive today because of the decision she made to say, I'm not aligning myself with this anymore. I'm aligning myself with him. Dadgummit. That's good. If this don't give you hope, some of y'all was like, man, I got mad and honked my horn today. Listen, God can still use you. But align with God is lay off your horn. Talking to myself right there. And then the last thing. Rahab's future was not affected by her past. How many look back and think, I'm so glad I'm not who I was? I am. Does that mean every now and then your past you don't still struggle a little bit trying to navigate through moving out of all of that? But I'm telling you, you're not that anymore. You're not who you were. The Bible says you are a new creation. All has passed away. All things have become new. And if this is what the Bible says, then we need to live that way. We need to live that way. It's new. You know what, everyone, when you talk about Rahab the prostitute, people could be like, oh my gosh, what a horrible thing. Listen, your sin is just as horrible. Anytime we all sin, and when we do, it's just as horrible. Because it's a choice to go against what we know is right. That's what it is. Sin is just, it's what's not right. Doesn't matter what it is. But check this out. Worship team, you could come up, or Brian or whoever, you can come up. We're going to wrap up. But go to Matthew chapter 1. I love this. Listen to this. Stay with me. We're almost done. Okay? Bless you. This is a record of the ancestors of Jesus, the Messiah. We're getting ready to look at the ancestors of Jesus, the Messiah, a descendant of David and of Abraham. Let's keep going. Verse 2, we'll just go through it. Abraham was the father of Isaac. Isaac was the father of Jacob. Jacob was the father of Judah and his brothers. Judah was the father of Perez and Zerah. Perez was the father of Hezron. Hezron was the father of Ram. Ram was the father of Amminadab, and Amminadab was the father of Nahshon. Nahshon was the father of Salmon, or Salmon, whatever you want to call it. Listen, Salmon was the father of Boaz, whose mama? Who? Rahab. Rahab is in the lineage of our Messiah. The ones everybody else would have thought, she's so bad. She did so much naughty stuff. But I'm telling you, man, she made a decision to align herself with God. And she is in the very lineage of the Messiah that saved us, that we serve. That's her. If that doesn't give you a little bit of hope, now here we are, people who mess up, and we're in the family of Jesus. Go to Hebrews 11. I'm telling you, Hebrews 11 is the hall of faith. By faith, these people. Matter of fact, before I read verse 31, let me tell you what Hebrews 12:1 says. After we talked about all these people, Hebrews 12 says, well, I'll read that in a second. Let's go here. It was by faith that Rahab the prostitute was not destroyed with the people in her city who refused to obey God. Leave it on this verse for a second. For she had given friendly welcome to the spies. So if you look at this passage in Hebrews 11, it's by faith Abraham, by faith, by faith, by faith, by faith. It's listed all these people that were people of faith. That the Bible is saying these people are great role models for you. Hebrews 12 verse 1 says, therefore, since we're surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, which are these people. And look at verse 32 after it talks about Rahab. How much more I need to say? It would take too long to recount the stories of Gideon, Barak, Simon, Jephthah, David, Samuel, and the prophets. Listen, he's saying, I don't have time to tell you all these stories about Samson, about Gideon, who destroyed thousands and thousands of people with 300. I can't even tell you about David and Samuel. I don't have time to tell you all these people. But I wanted to make sure to tell you about Rahab. So are you serious? David doesn't get all the talk, but Rahab does? Samson, who crushed people in the Colosseum and does all these things with this massive strength? You don't tell that story? But you tell the story of a prostitute who decided one day, I'm going to align myself with God and the God of Israel, and my life will never be the same. I'm going to be saved forever because they promised me that once I made the choice to serve this God, that I'll be saved from the destruction. That's who's in it. I don't care who you are, and I don't care what you've done. God's got plans and purposes for you that you need to hold on to, and you need to realize it doesn't matter what I've done. It doesn't matter where you are today. You're one decision away from saying, I will align myself with this God, and the titles and the stuff. And I'm just going to tell you this is my opinion. I didn't study this, but in a lot of places it does say prostitute, even in Hebrews. We're like, man, it's the hall of faith. Don't use that word. But I don't think it's a label anymore. I think it's now saying, remember this? The person no one thought was labeled as the prostitute, that's who I'm talking about. And that person right here, by faith in God, made a decision to protect these people. By faith in God was instrumental in the destruction of Jerusalem and them coming, or Jericho, and them coming in and taking the land of Jericho. It's not she's a prostitute. That's how she's labeled. No, it's like, no, I'm telling you, you know who I'm talking about, but that ain't her no more. But I just want you to know that's who I'm talking about, that God used to do amazing things. You don't have a label on you. Was I perfect growing up? No. Do people still see me? Scott, remember he was that crazy weirdo, that crazy guy that would do all this. Listen, you could call me that, but now because you know that's who I was, what a greater testimony does it show that I'm doing this today. So here, take it, receive it. Whatever you're in, whatever you're doing, you're different. You're one decision away if you've not given your life to Jesus. And once you make that decision, everything changes for you. I've never heard anyone say, man, I just want to be like Rahab. But I'm going to tell you, I want everybody making the decision Rahab made to say, I'm not going to side with the world and the culture and where everybody expects me to go. But my faith is going to show by the decisions I make today that I choose God. And if I get caught and I die for my country, or I die in my country, then I get caught and I die. But I'm choosing God. I'm choosing the God of Israel. No questions asked. And what everyone would have thought about Rahab. Today, she's in the Hall of Faith. And she got more words, and she got talked about more than David, who was a man after God's own heart. More than Samson, who's the strongest man ever, with strength from God. And this lady gets the verse that says, by faith, Rahab. By faith, Rahab. You know, yeah, the prostitute. Yeah, that's who you're talking about. Yeah, but not anymore. By faith, Rahab. Bow your heads.